APRO धर्मशाला, आदरणीय अतिथिगण, विद्वान वक्तागण, श्री कपिल शर्मा जी, हेड ऑफ CMT, समस्त प्रिजाइडिंग ऑफिसर्स, इलेक्शन कमिश्नर्स, BLOs, सुपरवाइजर्स, देवी और सर्वोच्च, इस सत्र में आप सभी का हार्दिक स्वागत है, अभिनंदन है। अब हम अपने इस सत्र की ओर बढ़ रहे हैं। मार्जिनलाइज्ड कम्युनिटीज, वुमेन, ट्रांसजेंडर्स, माइग्रेंट्स, यह विषय लोकतंत्र की उस मूल भावना को दर्शाता है जिसमें समाज के प्रत्येक वर्ग की समान भागीदारी सुनिश्चित करना हमारी प्राथमिकता है। चुनावी प्रक्रिया तभी सशक्त बन सकती है जब समाज के सभी वर्ग, हाशिए पर खड़े वर्ग, प्रत्येक नागरिक को सम्मान और मतदान का समान अवसर प्राप्त हो। इस महत्वपूर्ण विषय पर हमारे साथ विचार साझा करने के लिए दो विशिष्ट वक्ता उपस्थित हैं। श्री कुमार सभा पांडे जी, रजिस्ट्रार IIT मंडी, और श्री अरुण शर्मा जी, रिसर्च एसोसिएट, हिमाचल प्रदेश यूनिवर्सिटी। सबसे पहले मैं आमंत्रित करना चाहूँगा IIT मंडी, जिन्हें शिक्षा, प्रशासन, समावेशी विकास के क्षेत्र में व्यापक विचार साझा करें, श्री कुमार सभा पांडे जी।
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So primarily I was asked just a couple of days ago to speak on this very sensitive topic. I am from teaching community and I teach hardcore computer science. Not much experienced in electrical, do not have home. There are others who live in jungles. So those are the things that we need to talk about. So when we say what is democracy, people typically answer that governance. It is a promise. It's a promise that we make. Our constitution made. We the people. So it's a promise that every citizen holds in the world. We have traveled a lot. However, there are certain gaps which still remain. Therefore, what I say is all good that everyone is empowered to vote. Once she achieves the age of 18, yes, you are entitled to go and vote. That's fine. This looks okay. But what happens? These are ideals. Reality and ideals always do not. So some groups, first group that we will speak about is a homeless group. This group actually is somebody who doesn't have a permanent residence, who is just migrating from here and there. And our election home address, so the system must be sensitive to take care of such needs. Second one is, when we say the gender of the voter. Typically the election documents have male, female. I don't know. Till the time I was seeing workers coming from Rajasthan, Bihar, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, Eastern UP, and they all work here and then they go back. And in the meantime, if there is an election, well, I know that border areas, they also cast their ballots, postal ballots, with ease. But these migrant workers cannot cast their vote with that simple ease. Then there are persons with disability. Many of you must have gone for election duties. At least all of us have seen election booths with all kinds of instructions. Not all booths are, disabled friendly. Differently abled people, like there may not be ramps. So I don't know how the wheelchair would go. So those are the improvements that are needed for persons with disability. Women in remote areas, women maybe a little bit in the sense that there are communities. Are we from across India or just Himachal Pradesh? Across India. So there are communities, especially I have seen in some parts of Rajasthan, where the ladies have what they call ghungat, this size ghungat. Is it anything better than women in Afghanistan? So almost similar situation. We can't compare those ladies with the ladies that we have here. So that is something, I mean, systems may perhaps not be able to help, but the society as a whole should take care of that. Then there are tribal communities. I was born in Chhattisgarh, and here in Himachal Pradesh we have 2.5 tribal areas. So there everyone is a tribal. So the polling officer is a tribal, the presiding officer is a tribal, and so on and so forth. And anyways, those tribals are not that tribal also. As I was born in Chhattisgarh, I come from a district which we call is a tribal district. There you can distinctly see people, distinct communities who are all together averse to joining the mainstream. There was a time when Chhattisgarh was part of Madhya Pradesh and I was a small child. The Madhya Pradesh government started a project, they called it Project Korwa. Korwa is a tribe in Chhattisgarh, go further deep into jungles, and then the government's next phase of the project will take that road again to that village, will again flee, and so there was a funny saying at that time that आगे आगे कोरबा पीछे पीछे road. So how do we actually include, after all, they are also our citizens? That is the real challenge. Next. So one might ask, does it really matter? I mean, if those Korbas or these marginalized ladies, these transgenders, if they don't vote, how does it matter? I mean, out of, let's say, 140 crores of Indians, the 90 crores of voters, there are, let's say, a couple of lakhs of people who are left out. How does it matter? Statistically speaking, it does not. But ideally speaking, it does. And legally speaking, it all the more does. One person should not be left. So how does it make them different from the British subjects pre-1947? They had no voice. They still would not have any voice. A government which is elected without the voice of most vulnerable sections. Mahatma Gandhi told us all the more. I mean, I don't know, I should not be naming, so I am avoiding names, but let's say those big people who own the cement plants and refineries and steel plants, if they don't go for voting, does it matter to them? It does not. They just go there, cast their vote, show it like this, post a picture on the social media and say, yes, I exercise my vote. But they don't care. Even if they don't go for voting, they have reach to the highest echelons of power. But that marginalized man must be visible. It's all the more important for him. Next. Second is, the voter ID systems must be made gender inclusive. So, yes, he, she, and then others. At least that much must be done. Third is remote and postal voting. I have seen as now it is counted at the beginning because of the EVM. So this must be made as this is very, very important. And postal balloting, disability inclusive polling booths are also important. Fifth is the civil society, the other NGOs and finally, of course, everything on paper doesn't deliver if there is no political will. The political will is about all right. Yes, he once said, as I was saying, that true measure of any society can be found in how it treats its most vulnerable members. So democracy that counts only some of its people then some may be a large vote. So let's take a pledge. Let's build an India and thereby a world where the ballot booth is not a but the right equally and fully available to every human being who calls this nation his or her home. Because inclusion at the ballot is not a charity.
अभी शर्मा जी जो सामाजिक समावेशन और जन भागीदारी से जुड़े विषयों पर गहन अध्ययन एवं शोध कर रहे हैं.
Discrimination, and yet lakhs of our fellow citizens like women, transgender, tribal, not because they lack the desire to vote, but they face some problems in the time of identification. So this presentation has three specific objectives. Please next slide. First objective is the challenges faced by youth and find some difficulty to get past the verification step, actually cast the vote. What barriers they encounter at the time of ballot and what can we do about it. So some researcher remarks the marginalization group suffer a structural identity vacuum that keeps them off casting a vote. This fundamental barrier expresses itself in two distinct overlapping patterns, creating significant issues that need to be understood independently. So first is structural and career cultural barrier. This pattern affects women, transgender, migrant who often struggle to establish residency or identity due to societal norms and other hurdles. Second one is compounded exclusion. This is more urban homeless. For these groups, the lack of fixed addresses or official document 8% registration voter over the India's half voting total population. So nevertheless, there are significant surname after marriage can be complicated, resulting in dispute between prior documents and data on the electoral roll, making it difficult at the point of voter identification. Second, unlikely for many women who observe value when only main officials are deployed at polling station, providing their identity become a source of mental and moral conflict for these women. Women have struggled during voter identification because they lack information about form filling up process, the uses of internet portal, and necessary proof. And women are usually unable to attend enrollment camps offered during working hours due to household responsibilities. So the ECI recommends first targeted solution is accepted the multiple document proof. This removes the dependency only one document. Then women hardly hold. Second, establish separate enrollment at the time of voter identification. Moving to transgender inclusion. Next. So here, as of the 2024 general election, around 48,000 third gender electoral were enrolled, were roughly 39,000 in 2019 general election. This progress, this is very good progress, but it is only a fraction of India's estimated transgender population. The gap is real and it is rooted in systematic barrier. The core challenges is mismatches between identity documents, a person, gender identity, and social stigma compounds this further. The ECI recommends self-declaration affidavit for the name, the gender, marker update as already step aligned with the Transgender Protection Act, Right 2019. Second, make BLO sensitivity training or gender identity mandatory, not optional. And third, link Ministry of Social Justice and improvement transgender like ID reports to the voter. So India is estimated to the approximately 45 crore migrant and 6 crore circle seasonal migrant worker, one of the world's largest internal migration system. These citizens face when I call the portability problem. A migrant voter ID card is tied to their home constituency, but on identification day, they are at a so that is not a real choice for a daily basis worker. The ECI recommends employer letter as a valid proof of address at the website. Keep Form 8 address correction election so that migrant can cast their ballot without leaving their work site. So in focus area of 4, paying us to community facing the most compounded barrier. Please next slide. Particularly vulnerable tribal group, nomadic denotified tribals, and the urban homeless in officially identifies 75 these types of PVTGs communities, the most isolated tribal group. For outside normal enrollment routes, the ECI approaches here is innovative mobile GPS tracked road units travel directly to remote habitation. For nomadic and denotified, this tribe, approximately 150, there is no fixed address to register. The ECI solution is to accept recognized settlement camp and seasonal hard address as a valid residence proof in a place of permanent address. For the urban homeless, over 1.77 lakh person in the last census, the ECI 2022 circular allow registration throughout night shelter address with NGO verification, supporting the process of person without a home can still have a vote. That is the intent, and we must ensure uniform implementation across state. So all this work depends on strong policy foundation. At the program level, systematic voter education and electoral participation, and Ministry of Social Justice and Employment like IIIM या कोई अदर इंस्टीट्यूट अगर किसी भी विषय पर रिपोर्ट बनाने की कोशिश करता है, स्टडी करता है, तो उसके लिए इंक्लूसिव अप्रोच इज द आई थिंक इसके बिना कोई भी स्टडी पूरी नहीं हो सकती है। इनके अलावा भी बहुत सारी ट्राइबल कम्युनिटीज, वुमेन एंड जनरल प्रॉब्लम्स जो है मार्जिनलाइज कम्युनिटीज को देखने को मिलती हैं। जैसे इलेक्शन कमीशन ऑफ इंडिया ने इस तरह से फिलअप किया है कि अगर कहीं ट्राइबल एरिया में इलेक्शन हो रहे हैं तो वहाँ का जो BLO है वो उसी कम्युनिटी का होना चाहिए, ताकि इलेक्शन कमीशन ऑफ इंडिया और कम्युनिटीज़ के बीच में एक ब्रिज बिल्डअप किया जाए, उनके बीच एक ट्रस्ट पैदा किया जाए, ताकि और इंक्लूसिव और मार्जिनलाइज कम्युनिटीज़ को एप्रिशिएट किया जाए कि आप वोट करने के लिए आएँ और उन्हें एट द टाइम ऑफ वोटर आइडेंटिफिकेशन काफ़ी आसानी हो। So let me close the presentation. The Election Commission vision of no voter left behind is only possible if we are deliberate about reaching those who the system has so far found it easiest to overlook. I thankful again, sir, all the representative here, your patience, time and attention. Thank you so much.
के समक्ष मौजूद चुनौतियों और उनकी मुख्य धारा की लोकतांत्रिक प्रक्रिया से जोड़ने के उपायों को 12-25 पर अगला स्तर आरंभ किया जाएगा। आप सभी
तो आप सभी ने अभी जो हाल में हमारा लोकसभा का इलेक्शन हुआ है, अब आज सारी जब चुनाव होते हैं तो ग्राउंड लेवल पे हमारा जो बूथ लेवल अधिकारी है बड़े सक्रिय रूप में तो वो क्या क्या डॉक्यूमेंट्स कमीशन ने प्रिस्क्राइब किया है ना, वो वोटर इंफॉर्मेशन स्लिप लाई ना आधार ला, वो क्या करते हैं फ़ोन पे ले आते हैं कि हमारे फ़ोन पे जी सारे डॉक्यूमेंट्स अपलोड है इसमें से। लेकिन कमीशन की स्ट्रिक्ट डायरेक्शन और आगे इलेक्शन में भी होगा कि कोई भी मतदाता अब फ़ोन लेके बूथ के अंदर नहीं जाए। तो फ़ोन जो है अब वो पोलिंग स्टेशन के बाहर जो BLOs होंगे या किसी की ड्यूटीज लगाई जाएगी, अब वो फ़ोन वहाँ डिपॉजिट होंगे। तो क्योंकि पीछे 2024 के इलेक्शंस में हमारे कई इसमें काफ़ी बहस बसाई प्रिजाइडिंग ऑफिसर्स के साथ, मतदाता ने की कि भी मैं तो फ़ोन में लेके आया हूँ, लेकिन हार्ड डॉक्यूमेंट इस बार ये कि अब फ़ोन बूथ के बाहर ही स्पेशल ड्यूटीज लगा के वो वहीं डिपॉजिट होंगे। और जो डॉक्यूमेंट्स कमीशन प्रिस्क्राइब करता है उसमें से कोई ना कोई डॉक्यूमेंट मतदाता के पास होना चाहिए, तभी वो उसको आगे वोट डालने दिए जाए। इसके अलावा जो हम इससे थोड़ा हट के आए तो जनरली हम जो रजिस्ट्रेशन जो फॉर्म 8 का अरुण जी बार अभी हम सभी जानते हैं प्रारूप 8 में हम क्या क्या करते हैं। फॉर्म 8 जो है वो किस लिए है हमारे पास, फॉर्म 8 है एक भी बात अभी फॉर्म 8 में शिफ्टिंग का भी है, आपका करेक्शन का भी है। यदि आपके डाटाबेस में ऐसे व्यक्ति हैं जो विकलांग के रूप में अभी फ्लैग नहीं हुए हैं, आप उसके लिए भी कर सकते हैं। और एपिक की करेक्शन के लिए भी आप फॉर्म 8 के थ्रू ही आप एक ही फॉर्म में है। अब ये ऑनलाइन फैसिलिटी भी है, कोई व्यक्ति चाहे तो उसमें भी वो घर बैठे ही अपना जो भी फॉर्म भरना चाहे, चाहे 6 हो, चाहे 7 हो, चाहे फॉर्म 8 हो, वो उसको भर सकता है। क्योंकि आपको पता ही ना BLO एक्ट में आपके सारे फॉर्म्स हैं। तो आप में से चलो इलेक्शन के लिए हम आते हैं, आपकी ड्यूटी इलेक्शंस में लगती है, तो एक्सपीरियंस बताएंगे इस BLO, कोई भी BLO बताए, दाता से आप कॉन्टैक्ट करते हैं, घर घर जाते हैं, उससे रिलेटेड कोई हो आपका एक्सपीरियंस। सर ये तो ईज ऑफ वोट तो वो है सर।
जब हमें ऐसे आलो रिपोर्ट आती है
जी जी सर,
तो लोग कहते हैं कि देयर इज अ मिसमैच, जो वोटर है कौन है, इसकी आवाज जो वोटर है एक्चुअली जो इलेक्टोरल रोल में नाम है और आइडेंटिटी है वो मिसमैच है। उसके बाद में वो प्रेस्क्राइब जो उसमें आइडेंटिटी कार्ड है वो नहीं लेके गया है, जो चैलेंजेस आती है
जी जी सर,
आइडेंटिफिकेशंस। उसके बाद में वो उसकी चॉइस नहीं है, जो प्रिजाइडिंग पोलिंग ऑफिसर 1 होता है उसकी चैलेंज है साथ में, और एक लंबी क्यू, बिकॉज वो आइडेंटिटी प्रूफ नहीं कर पा रहा है। तो क्योंकि फर्स्ट आदमी जो है पोलिंग ऑफिसर 1 है, उसने आइडेंटिटी प्रूफ करनी है, वो लाइन आगे बढ़ेगी। अदर देन जो दूसरे वोटर्स हैं, जो फॉरेन वाले वोटर्स हैं, वो प्रिजाइडिंग ऑफिसर्स को रिपोर्ट करते हैं एज पर सेक्शन 20 ऑफ द। तो मेजर चैलेंज है वो यही है कि मिसमैच होता है, लेके नहीं आए होते हैं। दिस शुड बी द बाकी और छोटी छोटी इश्यूज आते हैं फॉर द सेक ऑफ आइडेंटिटी, जैसे प्रॉब्लम्स आती है। जैसे आजकल तो प्रॉब्लम ये है कि हम जनरली यहाँ बात कर रहे थे, अभी लेक्चर में सुन रहा था मार्जिनाइज्ड क्लास। मुझे लगता है आजकल के ज़माने में सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट चीज़ ये होने वाली है कि वेरी सून हम ये करेंगे कि एलीट क्लास को बूथ पे कैसे लाया जाए। जो मार्जिनाइज्ड सेक्शन है वो सबसे ज़्यादा वोटिंग कर रही है। हाउ टू ब्रेक, बिकॉज अगर आप शहरी क्षेत्र में देखें तो सबसे ज़्यादा वोटिंग हो रही है। अगर हम SAR की हमारे दे आर नॉट प्रॉपरली ट्रेन, हमारे जो वोटर्स हैं दे आर नॉट सेंसिटाइज, उसको पता ही नहीं होता कि मेरा पोलिंग स्टेशन कहाँ है, मेरा सीरियल नंबर क्या है, मेरा पार्ट नंबर क्या है, उसकी लोकेशन क्या कहाँ है। दैट आर द, अगर उसको प्रॉपर सेंसिटाइज कर दिया जाए, बेसिकली इज ए कॉन्फिडेंस और कॉन्फिडेंस बिल्डिंग एक्सरसाइज है, एंड इट शुड बी डन एट द BLO लेवल through सोशल मीडिया और वोटर ऐप जो है उसके थ्रू इसको मुझे लगता करने की आवश्यकता है। 1950 है या सोशल मीडिया के और जो हमारे टेक्नोलॉजी का यूज़ करके इसको किया जा सकता
है। सबसे ज़्यादा BLOs कैसे अपने बूथ पे जो अपने वोटर्स हैं उनको कैसे सेंसिटाइज करते हैं। सबसे जो डिफिकल्टी जैसे सर ने बताया जो हमारा शहरी क्षेत्र अर्बन एरिया कि उनको हम कैसे, ये तो हमसे कितने कंपेन्स करते हैं हम सभी को पता है। कंपेन्स करने के बावजूद भी इतना डोर टू डोर विजिट करने के बाद भी जो हमारा अर्बन वोटर है उसको बूथ तक लाना। लेकिन BLO से भी मेरा ये रहेगा कि कोई एक्सपीरियंस आपका अगर शहरी क्षेत्र का है तो आप साझा करें हमसे। शहरी क्षेत्र के हैं कोई BLOs यहाँ के साथ इंटरेक्शन हो, वहाँ पोलाइटनेस हमेशा रहनी चाहिए जब फर्स्ट पोलिंग ऑफिसर होता है। लेकिन इलेक्शन का जो ऐसे एक माहौल होता है कि जो टीम होती है वो कभी बहुत स्ट्रेस में भी रहती है, तो इंस्टेंस कभी हो जाता है कि भी जैसे आप 2024 में कुछ हुए हैं कि आइडेंटिफिकेशन को लेकर ही थोड़ी बहस बसाई हो जाती है, तो उसका एटमॉस्फेयर पे जो मतदाता की वोटर आगे नहीं बढ़ेगा तो पीछे आगे नहीं बढ़ेगा।
बार हमें वहाँ पे जाना पड़ता है, उनके साथ फोन पे कॉन्टैक्ट करेंगे या फिर कई बार होता है कि वो फोन नंबर जो उनके होते हैं वो चेंज हो जाता है।
हाँ, तो फिर ये भी दिक्कत है कि हमारे डाटाबेस में जो फोन नंबर चुनाव के समय नहीं इस जैसे आप ये सजेस्ट मैं तो आपको यही कहूँगी कि ये प्रैक्टिस ना किया
वर्केबल सॉल्यूशंस होने चाहिए। टेक्नोलॉजी का यूज़ ठीक है, बट अब हम जब हम वन नेशन वन इलेक्शन की बात करें, कैन वी अफोर्ड दिस कर रहे हैं, वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट दिस। हमारे पास इतना स्टाफ है, वी कांट। क्या हमारे पास इतनी सिक्योरिटी फोर्सेस है, वी कांट। हम एक चुनाव करवाते हैं तब हमें लोकसभा का भी एक साथ करवाना पड़ेगा। विधान मीन्स एक पोलिंग स्टेशन में दो लगाने पड़ेंगे। अब आप पंचायत में देखा होगा, पंचायत समिति और जिला परिषद का वहाँ मिलते हैं प्रधान के वोट। तो आप देखिए ना लेवल क्या है। मतलब बहुत सी चीज़ें जो बाइबल है वो ही करनी चाहिए। यू शुड नॉट रन बिहाइंड द टेक्नोलॉजी। उससे तो अच्छा फिर ऐप से करवा दें।
बेसिक मतलब जैसे रिसर्च
which is not viable. We can't affordability भी तो देखनी पड़ेगी ना। We cannot afford such huge amount of fund पड़ेगी with the passage of time। और जो भी चीज़ें हैं, मतलब जैसे हम बात कर रहे हैं कि हमें टेक्नोलॉजी का करना चाहिए, फिर तो बेस्ट है कि कोई खर्चा नहीं है। वी शुड गो फॉर वन ऐप कर दीजिए, उसमें एक कस्टमाइज करवा दीजिए AI के थ्रू कि जब वो उसकी बेसिक हमारा ये है कि उसकी जो सिक्रेसी ऑफ वोट है वो इंटैक्ट रहे। तो सिक्रेसी ऑफ वोट का मतलब इस तरह से AI से डेवलप कर दो कि जब वो अकेला होगा तभी उसका कास्ट होगा, नहीं तो नहीं हो। AI सब कुछ कर सकता है, तो ये भी कर सकता है कि जब वो अकेला होगा उसको कोई वॉच नहीं कर रहा होगा, मतलब से सेंसर हो उसमें कि भाई अगर उससे 5 मीटर कोई दूरी पर है या 3 मीटर की दूरी पर है तभी उसका वोट दूसरा आदमी, तभी उसका वोट कास्ट होगा। जैसे आपका आजकल आपकी आईज प्रॉपर अगर करेंगी तभी आपको वो लेता है, नहीं तो नहीं लेता है।
तकनीकी नवाचारों तथा उनके समक्ष आई चुनौतियों को समझने का अवसर प्रदान करेगा। सर्वप्रथम मैं आमंत्रित करता हूँ श्री कपिल शर्मा जी, हेड ऑफ CNT डिवीजन थमेटिक।
Municipal IDM. The topic of this workshop is International Conference on Ease of Identification at the Ballot. And the topic which has been given to me, that is International Perspective on Voter Identification Systems. So voter identification lies at the heart of electoral infrastructure. It is the mechanism through which electoral systems seek to ensure that every eligible citizen can exercise their right to vote while safeguarding election rights. Management bodies like Election Commission of India in India. So every country has their own election management bodies. Election identification system provides from biometric registration and digital identity systems to photo-based voter rolls and independent audits. Countries have adopted different approaches shaped by their legal framework, technological capacities, and social dimensions. At the same time, significant challenges are also there, including lack of documentation, accessibility, data protection concerns, technological limitations, and the needs of displaced and marginalized populations. So in this presentation, I am just going to present all these topics and themes with some of the details. Please listen. So as I have discussed, that voter identification is the process of confirming a voter's identity and eligibility. So what is voter identity? So voters' age, election management bodies are working for voter identification on these issues. These are the basic components like age, ethnicity, gender, and eligibility is very important so that every eligible voter can per the legal provisions of that country. Why we are using voters' identity and eligibility before casting vote? Just to prevent impersonation and electoral fraud, to ensure that each eligible voter votes only once, to enhance public confidence in the electoral process, and to facilitate smooth and transparent election management. So we can see most of the countries require any kind of ID system, identification system across the globe. In modern time, most of the countries are using biometrics, like in India we are using Aadhaar. In other countries they are also using some kind of biometrics to identify their voters. To also ensure eligibility of the voters, there is EIDAS, that is one electronic identification system of European Union. So by this system they are using digital identity of every citizen, because in European Union they are working cross country. So by this system they also ensure voters' identity while migrating from one country to another country for work related issues, for any other issues. So electronic identification is also a one component which is very prominent for digital identity. There is one more example which I have given on that slide, that is sub-Saharan births unregistered. In Africa, newborns, most of the newborns are not registered because they don't have digital registration system. So most of the time, 50% of the newborns are not registered just to lack of that infrastructure which paved the way for digital identification. So this is one of the problem in sub-Saharan areas. Also in India we can see in register, but in India right now we are these 2 points are very separate: registration of newborns and registration in electoral roll. But in some countries, registration of newborn child and electoral registration are integrated. Next. So first we talk about some of the most prominent challenges which we can see in front of identification of voters, that is lack of documentation. So lack of universally identity documents is one of the major challenge. Many eligible citizens do not possess government issued IDs, particularly in developing countries and remote areas. As I have discussed that in sub-Saharan areas, 50% obtaining a birth certificate require in-person visit, proof from both parents and a midwife identity card. That is prevalent to African countries because we have gone through that African perspective while reading this international perspective of lack of documentation. So we got this point from Africa. So obtaining a birth certificate to get any identity proof for their newborns also as well as for themselves also. Because the newborns are the next generation of that country. Apart from that, armed conflicts are also creating lack of identity cards in front of citizens because armed conflict left ethnic groups unable to prove citizenship with new ID regulations requiring birth certificates that many could not produce. I am not giving the name of countries because this is one international workshop, but these are some practices we can see that where armed conflicts are going there. We can see that ethnic groups are not getting ID proofs because whenever new government comes, they form new laws for their citizens as per their requirement. So sometimes some ethnic groups do not have that kind of access to get ID proofs on time. Next. Some other global challenges are accessibility and inclusion. Marginalized groups including women, indigenous communities, migrants, elderly persons and people with disabilities may face barriers in obtaining identification documents. Data accuracy and registration issues are also there because incomplete or outdated civil registries can result in eligible voters being excluded or incorrectly identified. Apart from this, if we do not update electoral data regularly, then it will also become obsolete. And we will not get exact accurate number of voters while conduct of elections. So that's why in India we were conducting a special summary revision and now we are conducting SIR. Also, underdeveloped countries does not have budget provisions for doing all this exercise. So the cost and administrative burden is also one of the major challenge in front of election management bodies because establishing and maintaining secure voter identification system can be expensive and resource intensive also. Apart from this, cyber security is one of the prominent challenge which is coming in front of election management bodies because biometric and we are collecting biometric data from the voters to secure that data, to secure voters' data. It is also a very complicated task. So biometric and digital identification system raise concerns about data security, surveillance and misuse of personal information also. So election management bodies needs a framework regarding this also. Next. If election management bodies does not have proper framework for identification of voters, then the weak identification system may allow multiple voting impersonation or fraudulent registrations. Digital and biometric systems can face technical failures, connectivity issues and cyber security threats also. And apart from this, whatever system we are developing, we need one legal base also. So some countries does not have legal base because they are not focusing on these issues. They have their own priorities. So the legal constraints are also there. voter ID requirement can become politically contentious if they are perceived as restricting participation or disproportionately affecting certain groups. Across the globe, some of the countries, some of the election management bodies does not have that kind of framework. So migration is a very prominent factor. Everyone is moving from one place to another place. So refugees, internally displaced persons, migrants, citizens living abroad may face difficulties proving identity and eligibility. So this is what should facilitate these voters for the conduct, for the cast of vote. Next, the international legal perspective to identify themselves as a voter. So the first question is, if any election management body is going to restrict any group, so the restriction must be some proportionate framework. Apart from that, states must not impose undue barriers, fees, distance or documentation. So it will become very easy to voters, citizens to register themselves as a voter. Also, we should keep, like in India, we are using booth concept where they are residing. Apart from leaders, because discrimination against ethnic rights, their equal participation in natural hazard, any refugee just because of any man-made conflict. So there should be some kind of framework which allow them to replace their identities, ID cards, so that they will have any opportunity to participate. Next. Some of the best practices which we have seen across the globe, I am just going to mention here. So Estonia is a country where online voting is developed and the citizens of that country are casting their vote by using online method. We are discussing this biometric identification mandatory, like Ghana and Mexico. Apart from that, photo-based voter rolls available at polling stations for visual verification. India is one of the best examples for this identification framework. So already I have discussed that Estonia and other European jurisdictions using e-ID framework. So e-ID framework, because in the European Union there are several countries, so they are using one electronic identification method. So any voter of any country can cast their vote if whether they are in Germany or Netherlands or any other part of the Europe. By using this digital identification, not only they can use, because this ID is not directly related to election. This is a general identification, digital identification, but they are using this digital identification for election purposes. Officer for making role in assembly constituency. So just explaining this point, in Australia there is third party audit system. So if ERO is making electoral rolls, so the third party will come to audit it, whether there is any error or not. So this practice is prevalent in Australia. Next. This is one of the best practice from Peru, and because Peru has some big geographical area of Amazon forest also. So with UNESCO, what Peru government has done, there is one national registry of identification and civil status organization, and they travels by river to remote Amazonian communities, those Amazon communities which are living in dense forest of Amazon. To remote Amazon communities, partnering with UNICEF to reach 69 indigenous villages and provide free services for identification in the electoral roll. It is recognized as one of the region's most efficient, sustainable and transparent civil registries. And this civil registration is also reflecting later with electoral roll also, because they are using integrated form of civil identity card used for banking, medical records, tax and voting. And this digital identity card they are also using for their voting system also. So there is one digital identity document which is multi-purpose, and they are also using this digital identity card for voting purposes also. In 2007, apart from this, votes can be cancelled and replaced via letter submissions. Voters verify their ballot via smartphone app, and no proven case of iVoter fraud since 2005. There was no any incident that is related to internet voting fraud in Estonia from 2005. And voter can also change their submission also. If they have made any submission for any specific political candidate, they can change their option also. Next, Panama is using civil registry. What they are doing, it is mandatory in Panama that all the births which are taking place in hospitals, they are going to mandatory registration of newborns, so that all newborns can become voters after turning 18. So they are integrating civil registry with voter list. So there is no need to do any other mammoth exercise for identification of voters, because they are doing this thing with civil registry of birth. Next. So these are some key lessons from global practices which we have seen, that inclusiveness should accompany security. It means we have to develop that kind of model for identification of voters that we include there, and it should be very. These are some references which I have used for making this PPT and some reports. Next. So this is my PPT regarding this issue. So thank you very much. If there are any question, it will be very good to answer.
The perspective on global electronic systems, innovations, and the valuable lessons we can learn from them. Thank you, sir. It is a matter of great pleasure and a privilege for all of us that the Honorable Chief Electoral Officer of Himachal Pradesh, Ma'am Nilka Gupta ji, is also present among us for this important session. Ma'am, we extend our heartfelt welcome and sincere greetings. And we sincerely welcome their valuable participation. Now, I would like to cordially invite Mr. Jarin Bijuli, Head of the Electronic Voter Registration and Identification Center, Central Election Commission, Albania, who has joined us virtually. He will share his experiences on the topic implementations of electronic identification in Albania. Mr. Jarin Bijuli, we warmly welcome you to invite you to address the Mr. Jarin Bijuli.
Hello, you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank the organizer.
Sir, sorry to interrupt you.
Milestone.
Hello.
Sorry?
PPT. Thank you very much.
With what, please? I didn't hear you.
I request you please go ahead with your PPT.
Requirements with creating of the technology provider for electronic identification. After this, in April 2029, finally, we organized the parliamentary election, and in those elections we implemented for the first time electronic identification. After this, in March, we had again some partial election and we implemented again, and all this implementation resulted with success. But as you saw, it takes 3 years to be done from the drafting till the full implementation of this project. Those are some small phases of implementation of this electronic identification for the elections. The first elections that are being in process, data imports, that means that all the list and the database of the voters that we get before, and we configured the servers so we will be ready for the generating of the USB that we will see later. And after this is the preparing and the preparation and testing. We recruit an operator that will be in response for the electronic device during the election day, and except from LCD. So all those features are specifically manufactured to perform the codes and pins and all the things for all the poll workers and all the stuff, and which are integrated later with the voting list database. As we said, it's a database with all the voters that is imported, that is encrypted, and it's readable only from this device. You cannot open it anywhere else. Every EID device is configured with the application and with the software needed, and after this is in each all the devices, all the 5,300 devices contains this USB inside, and also another USB will be in a package, let's say, that will serve as a contingency USB for every case, if any failure happens during the process. And post-election, all the USBs that we saw before, all those electoral data and information remain secure in those USB and can
technology to the electoral process. Thank you once again, Mr. Bujli.
Thank you.
Can you hear me visually? Hello?
Yeah.
Using this electronic device just to identify voters. So what is the process of voting? Is there any electronic device also for voting? Or only you are using for identification of voters?
These devices that I mentioned before are used only for the identification, not for voting. But we have starting to implement the pilot project for electronic voting and counting, which is a separate device from this one, with good results, but it needs more legal amendments and political agreement. Is implementing in all the countries since 2021.
And what is the current method of voting in your country?
I didn't hear well.
Your election management body is using ballot paper for voting, or what is the method of voting right now?
Yes, with ballot papers.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bangladesh, who has joined us virtually. I request him to share his views and experiences with us. Sir, Mutazar Shediji.
Secretary from Bangladesh Election Commission. Thank you so much. So first of all, I'd like to thank Triple IDM and also thank to Chief workshop or ceremony for actually and giving me the opportunity to share something from Bangladesh. Thank you. And also thanks to Kapil ji, he is my old friend actually.
Mumtaz, please wait, we are working on your PPT.
Okay. All the expatriate voters, to is the voting process actually. So, it's a global challenge to how we can enable all the citizens abroad to vote securely and conveniently with maintaining for this voting process. Actually, first of all, we have to amend our laws, and for the bureaucratic process and all the steps are very complex. For this context, Bangladesh Election Commission wants to ease the whole processes and start with some different kind. Actually, why Bangladesh? Why external voting matters for Bangladesh? Then we started some context of Bangladesh. It's about 10 million people who are lead high, so that there is an urge to participate in the national election from abroad. That's why we introduced the project, which is IT supported postal voting project. Actually, this database, 80% have biometric data with photo also. Then for the security purpose and for the authentication, we introduced the liveness check for the discussed here. This is the picture of the ballot paper. Actually, we provide a ballot paper which is only the symbol is visible in this ballot paper, because we don't know who are the 7,000 expatriates are registered in this process in the last election, and vote casting, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, embassies and postal departments, all the departments are working together. So the coordination is a very vital issue, and it's very challenging job for us. And another very challenging issue is the process, the technology with the traditional mechanism. Interagency and international coordination, it is also a critical issue we have already discussed. And voter convenience increases participation. It is also a very important reason from our side, because if we introduce a complex process, then the voter participation will be very low. So we are
sharing Bangladesh experiences in the field of electoral management, voter identification, and IT supported postal voting. Thank you, sir. At this stage, if any participant would like to ask any question, you are most welcome, please.
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Yeah.
I'm the Chief Electoral Officer of Himachal Pradesh, Nandita Gupta. Thank you for a very absorbing and very interesting presentation. I had basically quite a mundane, bureaucratic administrative question. I'd like to know what was the total cost of implementing this postal e-ballot system for Bangladesh? Because as I saw, I think there are more than 7 lakh voters, if I've got the numbers correct. So when was this implemented, and what was the cost in terms of the administrative cost?
Thank you, sir, for your nice question. Actually, I'm not able to share the actual data, but I want to share the ideas actually, because in this project our total project cost is 59 crore Bangladeshi taka, but this is not the actual cost actually, because this is only the project cost. Besides this, the postal department cost should be added. And my knowledge that we have learned actually through this process, about 700 Bangladeshi taka is costing for per voter. So
Thank you.
One more question. You mentioned it is 70%, whereas our acceptability is only 61%. What was the reason behind this?
yeah, because there are some people who are migrated from one place to another, and there are some issues in abroad. They get the ballot, but they finally decided to not trust in the ballot vote. That's why it decreases from 70 to 64%.
So in India we are also giving postal ballot facility to first our target group is armed forces and paramilitary forces because due to their regular postings or transfers. Apart from that, we are also giving postal ballot facilities to special groups like PWDs, people with disability, 85 years age people, to facilitate them home voting. So we are also giving postal ballot facility to them. So my question is first, in Bangladesh, this postal ballot facility is open for all the citizens, voters living abroad from Bangladesh. And second question is, you have shown that list of symbols. So that is only symbol list. There is no candidate list. So if anybody wants to make any vote against any voter, so how he will make his marking? So please explain this thing also. Thank you very much.
How many independent candidates?
No, actually you have shown that list of symbols. So there are only symbols, no
Yeah.
candidate.
Yeah.
So how any voter
Yeah.
can understand that how many candidates are there?
Oh.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. After finalizing the candidature, our mobile apps, which is registered by the expected voter, they will get a notification from the app, and he will get the total list from his constituency. This is the list, and also the photograph of the candidate. By this process, they can get the candidate final submission.
Living abroad from Bangladesh.
Yeah.
Okay.
कृपया ध्यान दें, कंक्लूडिंग मास के लिए अभी
Very good session. This was very good. Thank you.